drums.
In 2008, Disney Channel released what would end up becoming one of their most iconic films, Camp Rock. Starring Disney legends like Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers, the film debuted to high ratings and to this day continues to have a very large fan base. Because of this, I decided to check out the movie, and yeah, even with its incredibly cringeworthy moments, I definitely saw why people liked it. Naturally, 2 years later, the movie ended up getting a sequel, Camp Rock 2: The Final Jam. Although the movie also had its fair share of success and quotable moments, I feel like people don't talk about it the same way they do the first one, and it seems like there's a good portion of my viewers that believe that this one just isn't as good, which is interesting because it seems like I had a different experience with this movie. So, let's talk about it. My name is Mr. Nostalgia, and today we will be covering the sequel to Disney's classic film, Camp Rock, to see just how well it compares to the original. Let's do this.
For Camp Rock 2, The Final Jam, with one of this summer's hottest mobile apps. Be the first to hear new music, watch videos, and get info on one of the biggest concert tours of the summer. You can also take the personality quiz, Camp Rock yourself with a custom photo frame, and shake things up by turning your app from Camp Rock to rival Camp Star. With a parent's permission, you can go to disneychannel.com/apps to get info on the Camp Rock 2 mobile app. Camp Rock 2, The Final Jam premieres Friday, September 3rd at 8/7 Central on Disney Channel.
The Final Jam premiered on Disney Channel on September 3rd, 2010. Like the first one, despite me never watching it back in the day, I definitely remember it having a heavy presence on the network around the time of its airing. And really, this is all due to Disney knocking the marketing for this movie out of the park. For those who don't remember, the channel's entire summer marketing campaign was centered around the arrival of this movie, with the theme being set to It's On, one of the main tracks of the movie. I plan on going more into detail about this whenever I make the combined version of the video where I merge both this review and the last one with some added in bonus content as well, but basically starting June of that year, the network overhauled their programming and bumpers to make it fit a more summertime type of vibe, even having the phrase "It's On" said after every bumper to really make it all feel like one connected rollout.
Kim Possible will be back. Disney Channel, it's on.
Tell you what though, Disney just knew how to make an event feel important, man. Which is funny because I still didn't end up watching this, but hey, a lot of other people did. Now, with the exception of a couple new people who we'll talk about later, for the most part, Camp Rock 2 has the same cast as the first one. Despite this though, a lot has changed with the cast since the release of it. For starters, as I mentioned in the first video, this movie was designed to launch the careers of both Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers. And yeah, it definitely worked. More than they would have ever imagined. The same week the movie premiered on TV, the Jonas Brothers released their song Burnin' Up, which would become their breakout single, peaking at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. This would introduce the brothers into the mainstream world, paving the way for a lot of newfound fame and success. Because of this, and we'll get more into it later, this would change how their characters are written. Because if you remember, Kevin and Nick specifically were barely in the first one. Nothing much changed for Demi in terms of how Mitch's character was written, as she was already the star, but it is worth noting that her career took off as well, thanks to hits like La La Land, Here We Go Again, and This Is Me from the first movie soundtrack. Not to mention she became the star of her own show, Sunny with a Chance. Obviously, making the sequel after all the success of the stars made a lot of sense. But is it a worthy successor to the original? Well, let's find out. The movie picks up about a year after the first one, as summer is once again upon Michi Torres and her mom, Connie. Nice, I'm glad they brought her back for this one. Michi's ecstatic over not only spending time at the camp again, but also seeing Shane for the first time since last summer. Naturally, being a part of a band as big as Connect 3, Shane hasn't been able to do much communicating with Michi aside from texting. Connie worries that this might become an issue for them, but Michi says that everything will be fine, and nothing will make her lose focus. However, after saying that, Michi loses her focus, and starts zeroing in on a sign titled Camp Star, which presumably belongs to a new camp that was not there a year ago. This is especially worrisome because it's just right over the lake from Camp Rock. After they arrive though, Michi doesn't spend too much time thinking about it. This is due to her running into Caitlin and all the other girls that she became friends with over the previous summer. Except Lola, I don't really know what happened to her. But to be honest, Now that I think about it, she kind of did just disappear from the rest of the movie after she sang her little song. I never realized this until just now, but her character low-key got shafted in favor for Ella's character development. Hasta La Vista was so obviously originally meant to be her. Lola was hanging with those two other dudes for the entire movie. You cannot tell me that she wasn't a part of the Hasta La Vista crew. Turns out this was pretty much the case. The actress revealed in a TikTok that her vocals were on Hasta La Vista. So her not being in this movie, although apparently also having to do with her manager getting fired, is also a direct result of her character just straight up being phased out of the script. That's crazy. Hasta La Vista is still a banger though. That song be getting me going. Kind of remind me of that one commercial, 877-393-4448. Alright, anyway. Even Tess is here. This shouldn't come as a surprise though, as we did see her character make a shift for the better at the end of the movie, even showing her hanging out with the other girls in the movie's secret DVD ending. Surely this means her character development is gonna stick, right? Right? Meanwhile, we get to see what Connect 3 is doing while everyone else is at camp. It appears that they're having a bit of trouble with their tour bus. Is that Big Rob? No way, the legend. That guy is for real, and that's no lie. Stop, drop, and roll, and touch the flow.
That's because Oliver's not properly motivated. He's not trying to get to Camp Rock before Mitchie.
I mean, let's hope not. That'd be a little weird, wouldn't it?
I'm just excited to finally spend some time with him. Oh, here you go.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought he handed him a purity ring for a second. Back at the camp, Mitchie and company try coming up with something they can perform for the opening jam. And although she only has a few lyrics jotted down, still tries to turn it into something grander, with the help of some old friends.
Baron Sander!
Hey, what's up? What's going on?
Those guys have names? After we see them have a calm little jam session, suddenly the energy completely shifts and we got a whole musical number. Like seriously, straight out of High School Musical or Teen Beach, with choreographed dancing that everybody and their mom knows. And look, the song slaps. It's called Brand New Day, shout out Spider-Man. But like, where did this come from? The original movie was not really a musical. Like, for layman's terms, yes, it was, but it was a musical in the same way that Lemonade Mouth was a musical, in the sense that every song had an actual explanation for why it was being played. It wasn't spontaneous. This is the definition of spontaneous. They're going full on Lazy Town here. I don't know why Lazy Town was the first example that came into my head. I will say, they kind of eaten these scenes up though. I'm not a musical person, but this low-key did impress me. It's just really jarring when you compare it to the first one, because the first one was not like this at all. So watching these back to back was really weird. But just thinking of this only as a movie and not a sequel to one, this new direction is kind of working for me right now. What a way to open up the movie. Oh, also Frankie Jonas is in the movie now. Okay, sure, why not? While Brown is up on stage giving a nice little powwow, which formerly was done by the other woman from the movie, I guess she got fired, he gets interrupted by Connect 3, who are arriving to the camp, and listen to what he says.
Rockers, my nephews, and Camp Rock alum, better known to the world as Connect 3!
He says, my nephews, which means that Connect 3, even if they aren't brothers, are at the very least related. But I'm fairly certain that given the popularity of the Jonas Brothers at this point in time, they just felt it was easier to make them brothers in the movie as well. Whoa. Talk about an entrance. Brown announces that they will be with them for the entire summer, which is crazy considering they no doubt have a busy schedule. But at the very least, this allows Mitchie and Shane to spend some much needed time together. He also says that they are a little smaller this year, both in terms of campers and employees, thanks to Camp Star, which was founded by his former bandmate Axel Turner, who has been mad at him ever since he got kicked out of the band. While talking about how they can peacefully coexist and share the lake, they actually get some care packages from across the lake.
It's full of marshmallows. This one has chocolate.
Graham crackers.
I don't know why. I just hate this dude, bruh. I'm so serious. Talking about some graham crackers. Why are you talking like the dude from Yo Gabba Gabba? Graham crackers ain't that good, bruh. Got that stupid hat on too, looking straight out of this other Radio Rebel. What you laughing at? You lucky you not next. Camp Rock gets invited to Camp Star for a bonfire, and wow, this is a camp? And this looks like Star Labs. This movie also introduces the concept of junior rockers. I say introduced because we did not have kids that looked this young in the first one. I swear they were like all high schoolers. But thanks to the blossoming stardom of the Joe Bros, Kevin and Nick also get their own little subplots throughout the movie. And Kevin's involves his ongoing beef with Frankie Jonas and all the other junior rockers. A beef that started by Kevin accidentally dropping Frankie's camera in the water. Meanwhile, Brown and Axel meet up and we immediately start feeling the tension between the two, that's been apparently going back for years. We see that the two have different ideologies when it comes to the purpose of their camps. Camp Rock is just for making music for the love of the game, but Camp Star has a lot more of a competitive outlook. The other characters are taking notice of how much more advanced this place feels than theirs. They got free hot chocolate, a wardrobe department, and just an overall much bigger and in some ways a better atmosphere than Camp Rock. The competition starts to heat up when Axel asks if anyone, even someone from Camp Rock, has anything to perform. Mitchie and a few of her friends actually volunteer and sings a song called... I don't really care, to be honest. Y'all know what I came here to talk about. This is Luke Williams, aka Matthew M. Finley. A lot of y'all found out about him through this movie, and rightfully so. I, of course, never watched it. I didn't even know he was in Camp Rock until a few years ago, so my introduction to him was from this song he did with Zeke and Luther legend Daniel Curtis Lee. It was called Laughin'. Unfortunately, the music video isn't around anymore, but I promise it did exist once upon a time. Matter of fact, the song is still up on YouTube, but yeah. This movie was not my introduction to M. And I am probably the only person in the world that can say that. Now, his song is fire. No, literally, that's the title of the song. This dude is cool, man. Look at the way his hat stayed on when he did that backflip. That's aura. Fire is one of the best songs of the soundtrack for sure. Absolute banger. After their performance, this girl who is part of the band and had an encounter with Nick early in the movie raises her arm in the air, which somehow causes her bracelet to fly off her hand. I'm dying, bruh. She said, Kobe. Actually, does something crazy though. He announced that if there are any Camp Rock counselors or staff that wish to join Camp Star instead, he is willing to double their salary. And a good amount of people actually end up leaving. Man, I can't even blame him, to be honest. Chase the bag, I can't judge. He then says that any Camp Rockers are also allowed to switch sides as well. To avoid losing too many people, Brown tells everyone to get on the boats that took them there. Before Nate or Jason, whoever Nick is playing, gets on the boat, he has an encounter with the girl that assaulted him with her bracelet. She's very apologetic over what happened, and yeah, in case you couldn't tell, this is the plot that they chose to give to Nick. I really don't feel like covering this plot, man. One of the things that I definitely feel puts a damper on this movie's quality is that it just feels way too overstuffed with side plots, making it feel more like an episode of a TV show than a movie. Turns out Axel Turner is her dad, which of course is only going to make things complicated from this point onwards. Meanwhile, Mitchie has a one-on-one encounter with Luke.
Do I know you?
That's funny, I'm Luke. Luke Williams. I'm giving you the fire. Oh,
all right, relax, bro. You ain't do all that in the song. That man said,
Almost started reaching for my ways.
All right, jokes aside, Mitchie start. Wait, hold on, I got one more. If this dude tried to hit her with the Orlando Brown. Okay, Mitchie starts to understand what Luke and the rest of the campers are trying to do here. Thanks to their leader, Axel, Camp Star believes that this is genuinely their shot at the big time, and so they're taking everything really seriously, a little too seriously. Mitchie says that no one from Camp Rock would even think about joining their narcissistic, overproduced ego factor.
Guess what? My mom said yes. I get to make the switch.
Oh, come on, man. I thought we were actually going to get some character development with this girl. She turned good at the end of Camp Rock 1 for nothing. They couldn't have someone else from the first movie switch sides? That would have been a great way to incorporate Lola, I'm not gonna lie. In a way, I guess it does work though. Both of them have really large heads, so if the goal is to make a pairing that can't share the spotlight together, Tess does make a lot of sense. Still, it would have been great to see her actually be on the right side for once. The next day at camp, Brown announced that although they didn't lose a lot of campers, they did lose a lot of staff. So because of that, they can't really afford to keep the camp going, which means they'll be shutting it down for the rest of the summer. Mitchie, being the optimistic person that she is, believes that they can still save the camp. Everyone else, though, despite wanting to stay at the camp, can't really see how they can make that happen. Still, though, Mitchie is adamant that there is, in fact, a way.
We can't back down.
No, I can't do another song right now. We'll go pick it up after the commercial break.
Don't go away. We'll be back with the Disney Channel movie.
Real quick, today's video was sponsored by me, actually. Yeah, I'm the sponsor. No, but seriously, if I can just talk to you guys for a few seconds, don't skip. It's very important. This is the last video I'm going to be posting on my YouTube channel. Okay, now that I have your attention, some of you may know this by now, but I am very deep into the process of making my next multi-hour retrospective, which centers around the Jonas TV show from 2009. That's why I covered Camp Rock 1 and 2 on my channel. That's even why I covered Princess Protection Program, because there's a dude in that movie that later appears in Jonas. Yes, I faked y'all out to make you guys think I was going to review Sunny with a Chance instead. Point is, I wanted to use this time to tell you guys that if you want a sneak peek of the video, as I complete sections of it, I will upload them to my Patreon account. So if you want to see it before everyone else does, feel free to check that out. It will especially come in handy for when the video gets copyright claimed and I have to wait like a whole month just to make it public. But yeah, for any Jonas Brothers fans out there, I am very excited to release this video. I've done a lot of research on not only the show, but also the band as a whole. Part of the reason why I chose this show specifically is because of the fact that I knew next to nothing about the Jonas Brothers, and so I wanted to use this as an opportunity to familiarize myself with their music and lore. I thought it'd make for an interesting project and something different when compared to my other multi-hour retrospective. So if you're interested, it'll be coming out soon on YouTube, but also the Patreon is right there just in case. Also, I wanted to bring attention to my TikTok account that I now have. I plan on uploading exclusive content there too, as it allows me to get my thoughts on certain topics across without having to make an entire YouTube video. So if you're on TikTok and want to see more content, the option is there as well. And once again, thank you, Mr. Nostalgia, for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the show.
We're back with the Disney Channel movie.
Okay, I'm ready now. Mitchie breaks to another song, this one being called Can't Back Down. And it's about how they can't back down. She said, sit back down, LeBron. I'm still singing. I want to hate so bad, but I kind of like this scene. I don't know what it is. I think maybe after watching so many similar movies for my channel, I've become much more open-minded to musicals. I think for this movie in particular, the camera work is just so much better than the first one, which was probably a change I had to make considering the musical sequences are a lot more intricately choreographed. It's so pleasing on the eyes to see everyone doing the same exact thing. Are you happy now, aren't you? A couple minutes ago, you was trying to make an escape. I ain't forget. You know what's funny? I remember seeing this thing where Camp Rock was originally going to go to Selena, but she passed on it because she knew that Demi would end up getting it if she said no. And like, I'm really glad that did not end up happening. Demi is just head and shoulders above Selena vocally, man. Don't get me wrong, Selena has some bangers, but Demi, yeah, she was built for this. Anyway, basically everyone from the first movie that returned for this one have volunteered to be counselors, and Brown accepts their offer. This ain't breaking child labor laws? They start handing out everyone's assignments, and Kevin gets stuck with all the kid campers.
Really? This just means that everybody thinks that you have the leadership skills, maturity, the intelligence.
Think I'm intelligent?
No.
Probably the funniest scene from both movies, to be honest. Great delivery from Nick. Caitlin is in charge of dancing. Makes sense. Y'all remember how Allison Stoner was moving in that Missy Elliott video? Looks like Shane is in charge of guitar lessons, and Mitchie is just doing a little bit of everything, overseeing the whole camp. But considering the huge weight of responsibility that she now has to take on, some things are going to go a bit unnoticed.
This isn't working. The kitchen is a disaster. Yesterday, I ordered 50 pounds of black beans, and they delivered 50 cases of beach balls instead.
I hate this dude, bro. There's just something about him. A little by little, those things start to improve. The issue is, though, Mitchie is spending so much time trying to organize everything that she hasn't been spending much time with Shane, someone who agreed to stay at the camp the entire summer, more or less, for her. Every time they try to link up, Mitchie gets pulled away in order to handle something. And as you can imagine, Shane is starting to feel a certain way about this. Man, I'm writing this video and my Jonas video around the same time, so I've been struggling really hard not to just call this dude Joe. Bear with me if I let it slip every now and then. Later that night, a few of the Camp Rock guys are talking about Camp Star and how they wish they had the opportunity to show them up the night they performed Fire. They never really did get a fair chance to clap back at them, but Caitlin believes that if they did, then there's no way Camp Star would have a chance. This leads Mitchie to get one of her patented great ideas. And I mean that loosely. I don't even have anything to say for real. I've known about this scene for a long time, thanks to all the memes and stuff. It's just one of those moments that has become synonymous with the Camp Rock brand. And you know what? I'm tired of making fun of these movies. It's so easy to do so, but it just wouldn't be Camp Rock or Disney Channel in general without scenes like this. This is iconic. I will say though, did Mitchie beforehand just huddle everyone up and be like, okay, y'all, so what we gonna do, right? We're gonna paddle across the lake. We're gonna march and move our arms from side to side. Sit down, boy, I'm still talking. Like I said, we're gonna march and move our arms from side to side like we do in the Arab Buddy dance. Then I might even hit him with a little smirk like, yeah, we're here. Got a problem with that? All whilst chanting Camp Rock. That's gonna really show them. And they're all like, okay. However, gotta hand to them. The scene that comes after this is probably my favorite out of the duology. Mitchie challenges Luke, Tess, and the rest of the unnamed campers over at Camp Star to a duel, and it's then when we get the official sequence to the track, It's On. Now this is an elite scene right here, not to mention the song is a banger. Look at that, they even gave Allison Stoner some vocals in here. The choreography in this is so sick, man, especially this part here, look at him. Girl, relax, you acting like she put out a gun or something. Jokes aside, this scene really is well made though, plus it's a lot of fun. I don't really have the right expertise to talk about what makes it good specifically aside from its lifeful choreography, but yeah, this slaps. Hold on, bro. Don't get too close up to her fist. Demi was punching people around this time. Axel Turner takes notice of what just transpired and says that this is exactly what they all need. Some healthy competition. As he puts it, a champion always needs a good sparring partner. But he questions if Camp Rock is up to the task. All of them are very much so ready for the challenge. But as soon as Axel mentions it being broadcast on TV, Mitchie is like, well, I don't know about all that. But eventually she's convinced to accept the offer. Mitchie finds an old song of hers that she can convert into something all of them can have a part in. Even the junior rockers. Brown, on the other hand, doesn't think this is a very good idea. He believes that even though the kids are obviously talented, they're going to look like a joke next to Camp Star, mainly due to them not having the resources or the infrastructure to even, at the very least, give off the illusion that they're on the same level. And when this gets televised, no one is going to want to send their kids to Camp Rock. Camp Star just has more aura, I fear. She actually ends up overhearing this and at first starts to noticeably get upset, but she instead uses that energy to motivate her to win even more so. She gives everyone a pep talk that, although coming from a good place, starts to show how her mentality is slowly shifting. At first, everything was just for fun, but now she's determined to make sure they win this contest, with that being the only thing in her mind, nothing else. She starts to take things very seriously, which is only putting more of a barrier between her and Shane. It's also putting up a barrier between her and her friends, because now she's becoming a bit of a control freak. But leave it to Caitlin to be the one that called out Mitchie and set her straight. Caitlin says they all obviously care about winning, just as much as she does. They just think it shouldn't be taken as seriously since it's still a camp meant for fun. And although Mitchie isn't very receptive to that statement, I'd like to imagine the message still got across. Brown and Shane noticed Mitchie's behavior lately and decide that the best way to handle it is by lightening up the mood. So Shane takes all the junior campers to raid all of the older campers, Mitchie included, with water squirters. The scene itself was a nice shift in tone when compared to the last few months, and in a way, it did help bring things back to what the camp is all about. Fun. Shane then tries to, once again, spend time with Mitchie. Realistically, she could use a break, so he offers to take her on a moonlight picnic, but she declines.
I was thinking, wow, wouldn't it be nice to have a little fun?
So you're saying I'm not fun?
Yes. This argument leads to Shane going back into his own cabin, and is then when we get hit with yet another song. This one is called Wouldn't Change a Thing. Apparently this one is one of the more popular songs of the franchise. Matter of fact, Joe and Demi even reunited to perform this on tour recently. Like This Is Me, we kind of get two different perspectives of the same situation from both Shane and Mitchie. The song mainly talks about how the two might have their differences. They for sure do at this current moment, but at the end of the day, they still do value and like each other. They're just hitting a bit of a rough patch. It happens to the best of us. Apparently it happened to them in real life too, so hey. Mitchie wakes up the next morning to see that everyone, from the campers to the counselors, have seemingly locked in on getting all of their stuff done. All of this being led by Shane. He even made a new arrangement for them. We then get introduced to yet another song, this time being solely by Connect 3. The title of it is Heart and Soul, and it's mainly about how you can be a rock star even if you don't have everything that the greats have. One of the best parts about reviewing a movie like this, though, is that I don't have to go into the specifics of the lyrics, because y'all have likely already seen this movie. Song slaps though, plus the sequence is really cool. Later we get a montage where we see Mitchie and Shane do actually get the chance to spend time together. Canoeing, picnics, and just some good old overall one-on-one conversation. Can't say that Nate is going through something similar with his little love plot though. Throughout the entire movie, it's obvious that he has a crush on this Dana girl from Camp Star. Unlike everyone else there, she does seem to be pretty genuine, even given who her dad is. Thing is though, Dana is making it very known at this point that she likes him, but Nate, despite feeling the same way, isn't really giving that same energy. Can't say I blame him though. This girl wrote his name on her arm with permanent marker. What is she, like 9? This is some like 4th grade activities. What's next? Is she gonna pull out one of those I don't know what they're called, but the things that are made out of paper where it's just like, okay, pick a color and like pick a number. Man, y'all know what I'm talking about. This becomes a much bigger problem when Dana more or less calls him out on the fact that she's doing all this stuff, like meeting him across the lake, but he hasn't even shared any info about himself. So, realizing he can't fumble this opportunity, he goes over to Camp Star and performs this song called Introducing Me. And I hate it. When these dudes are talking about his toenails and stuff, this song is trash. The worst part about it is that he just keeps going and going and going. Girls don't even like this, bro. Have you not seen the Barbie movie? She should have high-key dumped him after this. Horrible track. Kevin and the junior camp produce them spying on Camp Star to see what they're cooking up, and when they come back, they report what they saw, which was unfortunately for them, a great performance. The one thing they do spot, though, that they might be able to use to their advantage is the fact that only Tess and Luke are singing. This means that they really don't have to go all out and incorporate everyone from the camp. Even Ella and Margaret mentioned that that makes things so much easier for them. Because if it really does just come down to Luke and Tess versus Shane and Mitchie, well, Shane and Mitchie should have that in the bag. Mitchie doesn't like this idea, though, because everyone else also worked really hard so far, and they deserve to shine as well. But Caitlin says that if it means getting the win, then she and Shane basically have to do it. Plus, it's not like their hard work will go in vain. After all, they did save the camp. So, Mitchie agrees. The day of the competition is upon us, and Camp Star is introduced on stage first.
Yes, them don't want to contest, we recognize we the best that can be.
Why is he rapping like Lauryn Hill? Anyway, the song they performed was pretty decent. It's called Tear It Down. Has some nice little dance moves accompanied with it. Very nice, very nice. The one consistent thing that's happened between the two, though, is a constant bickering. On stage, they get along fine, but all they did was argue off of it, as you would imagine. Their egos were just far too large. Unfortunately for Camp Rock, though, it appears that it truly doesn't matter how well they perform, as Axel Turner has more or less rigged the competition so that his camp gets the win. He paid to have text messages sent out to everyone everywhere, telling people to vote for Camp Star, making it a miracle if Camp Rock manages to get the win. You know what doesn't really add up, though? Did the writers just kind of forget that Connect 3 is famous? Specifically Shane Gray? If the band and universe was even remotely closer to popularity as the Jonas Brothers were in real life around this time, I feel like that alone could have generated enough buzz to get some votes in for Camp Rock, even more than Camp Star. Aside from Axel Turner, who I'm assuming is a lot more popular with an older generation and universe, Camp Star just has a bunch of nobodies, who although are obviously talented, don't hold nearly as much weight as Connect 3. Regardless, Mitchie and Shane go out there and try their best to perform. The song they end up singing is called What We Came Here For, a nice duet that also manages to feature just about everyone in the camp. Not to mention that they were nicely able to incorporate the footage that was taken with Frankie Jonas's camera. I don't remember them ever saying a name in this movie, so I'm just going to call him Frankie, I don't care. The performance is very lively, adding in things like the beach balls that were mistakenly ordered earlier in the movie. I like the contrast between this performance and the other one. Camp Star was just constantly talking about how they're better than everyone else and how cool they are. Meanwhile, Camp Rock was just being their true, authentic selves, which if you think about it, is a theme that clearly carried over from the last film. Yeah, unfortunately, none of that matters in the real world, and Camp Rock ended up losing to Camp Star in 4. Very sad. We get this cool slow-mo shot of everyone on both sides reacting to this result. But I gotta say, one of my favorite reactions comes from Axel Turner, who's just pointing at Brown. Like, yeah, look at this idiot. Bro got a color as his first name. Get him out of here, yeah. My other favorite reaction comes from Jason. I know it wasn't intended this way, but it really does look like he was plotting this or something. Like he was a secret villain all along. Why is he smiling like this? Anyway, the movie ends with everyone in the gathering around a campfire to quite literally sing a campfire song. Frankie spots people making their trip from Camp Star across the lake over to Camp Rock to join them. Some of them just want to join for the campfire, like Dana, whereas Tess wants to genuinely join Camp Rock again. Yeah, whatever. You can literally do anything at this point, and I still would not like you.
Hey, can I get a little help inside?
Yeah, I got you. What you need? My fault. As more and more people from Camp Star start surrounding the members of Camp Rock, it becomes increasingly obvious what this movie is all about. Music isn't about what appears on the outside. It's not about how cool you look or how much money you have. Nothing superficial like that. Music is a way to represent who you are and what you're feeling inside. A way to express your true self. It's also a way to bring people together and just have fun. That's what it's all about. Sometimes, unfortunately, the world doesn't reward authenticity. That's all right, though. As long as you keep being you, keep being real, not only will people notice at some point, but you'll also be a lot happier. And happiness is the greatest reward there is. Or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, to me, it's no question. Camp Rock 2 is a better movie than Camp Rock 1. I was honestly shocked to see the difference in votes here in my poll. Now, why do I feel that way? Well, a lot of it comes down to this movie just feeling a lot grander. I was never really impressed with anything in the first movie. It was exactly what I expected from the script down to the visuals. It truly does feel like your average DCOM. The final jam, on the other hand, definitely got an uptick in the budget department, and it's very obvious. I think a lot of this had to do with the new style they went for. This one is much more of a traditional musical than the first one. And so because of that, everything from the camera work to the set pieces, all of it had to match the new scale of the songs. A Brand New Day and It's On are genuinely some of the most impressive sequences I've ever seen from a Disney Channel project. And overall, I just feel like more was put into this movie to make it stand out, even if it's still somewhat reminiscent of other films. This movie also benefited from being less cliche and cringe than the first one. There was really only one scene that made me cringe this movie, and you know exactly which one it was. The movie honestly felt more mature in all the ways that it needed to be. For writing wise, I think the movie did just about everything better than the first one too. Well, almost, but we'll talk about that later. To be frank, this movie kind of does just retell the same message of the last one, which was to be yourself. But I honestly think it did it a lot better, especially with having Camp Rock lose at the end. The message isn't supposed to be yourself and you'll always win, because that just isn't true. And I'm glad the movie wasn't trying to lie to these kids. Focusing solely on trying to be the best and nothing else might add some awards to your name, but being who you actually are is a lot more freeing. In the context of hobbies like music, for example, I don't think the grind is worth it if you're not having fun. You might win, but at what cost? And truly, at the end of the movie, we saw that Camp Rock still won, even if it wasn't in the traditional sense. I also think the story is just better in this one. I like the idea of everyone in Camp Rock teaming up together against another camp instead of having them compete against each other. Adds a little more spice to the story. I think this is a near perfect sequel to a Disney Channel movie. I don't know how they could have done this better. I lied actually, yes I do. In terms of negatives, this movie is just way too crowded with subplots that don't really need to be in there. The bad thing about the Joe Bros popping off in between filming this movie and the first one is that Disney felt the need to give them more screen time, which is valid, I get it. But also, given how little their characters were in the first one, and given how underdeveloped they were, ignoring the outside context, their sudden screen time just feels bizarre. I don't care about your love storyline, Nick Jonas. I barely even know what your character is named. Imagine if they made a sequel to Starstruck 2 years after the first one, but in between shooting, Brandon Michael Smith randomly became a high B-list celebrity. So they gave his character a random love storyline. Pop quiz, what was his character's name? Time's up, it was Stubby. It was great that the Jonas Brothers became so successful, but their increase in screen time just did not feel natural, and I really wish it was given to the other characters from the first one that were actually important to the story. Caitlin, Margaret, Connie, Ella, Sander, Connie, Tess, Connie. Any of these characters would have been a good choice. Also, I felt like there was more potential with Luke. Like, they should have given him as much attention as Tess had in the first one. He wants to be the best, but why does he want to be the best so badly? How did he find out about Camp Star? Why did he join them? But no, instead we got a Kevin and Frankie Jonas subplot. Like what are we doing? Just about every other character in the movie deserves the screen time that Kevin and Nick had, is all I'm saying. I take it back, bro. I just seen what this dude Rashawn Fagan wore to the Camp Rock 1 premiere. He can go. Despite all this though, both the good and the bad, this one just isn't as memorable as the first one. I say this not as a critique, but more so as a reasoning as to why some might prefer the first one. I have no nostalgia for either of these films, but even I have stronger memories attached to watching the first one for the first time. It's just so quotable and stupid. The movie fixed all that, and I liked it more because of that, but there aren't really any quotable lines from it. I can't see myself making a lot of Camp Rock 2 references, you know? I gotta say, I think I do like the second one's soundtrack more. Just looking at my Spotify, I have 6 Camp Rock 2 songs versus 4 Camp Rock 1 songs, which surprised me at first, but man, they did have some bangers. Also, before I wrap this video up, why is there an I'm in the Band song in this movie? During the scene where the kids come in with the water guns, they play a song called Rock Hard or Go Home, which is from the I'm in the Band soundtrack made by Iron Weasel. That is so weird. Anyway, I liked Camp Rock 2 more than I thought it would. Maybe it's just me being more open-minded to movies like this now, but a lot of it did kind of work for me. I just realized I never rated Camp Rock in my last video, so I'll probably put that at maybe a 5.8 out of 10, with this one being a 6.8. It's actually really close to being a genuinely good movie if it wasn't for the unnecessary subplots. But what I want to know are your thoughts on the film. Let me know in the comments below. Check out my Patreon if you want to see content earlier than everyone else, like my Jonas video. Also subscribe to my second channel, simply titled Stalgia, for more of me. And follow me on TikTok as well. If you're new, feel free to subscribe and hit that like button. And like always, I am Mr. Nostalgia, and I am out for now.